Hi, I'm Sarah from The Upcoming. What pleasure to have you here with us
Thank you, sir.
in sunny, beautiful Venice. Maybe you could just kick off with a brief introduction to your film. What can audiences expect if they watch it?
Wow. Hi, my name is Ahmed Yassin Aldaradji. I'm the director of Hanging Gardens, the film about 12 years old boy called Asad, who lives and works in the rubbish dump outside Baghdad, the place where the American embassy dumped their rubbish. And one day he finds a human-sized robotic sex doll. He takes it and starts his own journey in a very conservative neighborhood in Baghdad.
And of course, your short films have looked at, I guess, young people in the aftermath of Iraq War, but this is, a feature-length film. What was the inspiration for talking about this subject, but from this very particular angle?
I'm a brother for seven sisters. We are a big family. The women's life in Iraq, yeah, they live in a very complicated situation, and in a way, it's a patriarchy community. But what actually triggered me to write down this story, it's a true story, by the way. It happened to me back in 2006 when I was in Baghdad. It was in the middle of the conflict. The American army occupied the country. Local militias fighting each other, etc., etc. And one day I was waiting for a friend of mine to come at the university. We were worried that something might happen to him. It's lately he showed up with a plastic bag in his hand, and he says, "Guys, let's go to the toilet." And we're, "What's going on with you?" And we went to the university toilet, and he opened the bag, and we found out it's a sex toy. It has a vagina, like a steering wheel, and it's the first time I've seen something like it. Iraq was under sanctions, blockaded from whatever going on around the world, and it was a surprise for us. And yeah, the boys on the ground started using the toy, and one day, a friend of ours basically called. He says, "Come and pick your toy." We're worried, might got discovered somehow in a very conservative neighborhood. But we went there, and he brought the toy, and apparently the toy was shrunk completely. He tried to clean it using hot water. He was boiling the toy, and the toy is a rubber, so it's got completely shrunk, and that's how the story started. So this idea I've been developing it since back on time. But what's really motivated me to write the film, it's the American sniper film. I watched the film Leicester Square in London, and it upsets me honestly to see how a movie can sexify the work, and war make war so sexy, and using us sexy, and killing people, making it so attractive to people, to the audience to come and watch it. It upsetted me so much, and this is what drove me to go back and write the story, trying to tell the truth of what happened post 2003.
And thinking about the people that you drew on to be involved in your film. I believe the actors, the crew were from the your childhood community, your childhood neighborhood. So why was that particularly important to you, and how was it working with those people?
I do lots of documentaries, brought so many documentaries. I feel myself sometimes finding myself to fall into that area of sorry, let me rephrase my sentence. Let me say again. I really like documentaries, and I thought without working something can have the authenticity of the Iraqis' story. This is the main aim. Is since the beginning, I wanted to tell the voice of Iraqis in their eyes, in their way, without trying to interfere how things works. I went back to the same neighborhood I was grow up, and I didn't have any professional actors in a way. I mean, even the actors, Taha and Al Haji, they professional, and they very well known in Iraqi drama industry, and they not used to film industry in a way. And because I think the relationship between actor director, it's not a professional job to do. It's more than that. It's in a way, it's a parenting thing. So that's why I really like to work with people who have, in a way, similar story, or at least they on ground to tell, to gain that, how do you say it, the magic reality of the core story.
And in that sense, do you feel like you're kind of slightly blurring, the line between fiction and reality, because just by default, those people are going to bring their lived experience of being in present day Baghdad to their roles. So you're kind of bringing some truth to a fictionalized story.
You know, I'm an Iraqi myself, and I've lived through what happened in Iraq pre and post occupation. And I think what's what the international audience see, it's not the full truth. You see Iraq through the mainstream media, films, and the films that been presented in Iraq, it's always have some Orientalist approach into it. It's always takes a side of the truth and trying to avoid what's actually happened. I think in a way, I wanted to tell my personal story, my personal voice of what happened in Iraq. I think the conflict post 2003 and the occupation to Iraq, it was like a culture clash in a way. And don't forget, basically, Iraq was isolated from the rest of the world during Saddam regime, through sanctions, and suddenly 2003 Iraq, here we go back again to be connected to the rest of the world. So yeah, I think this is what really drive me to have that approach. You know.
And but also, what do you think the effect is of kind of having this kind of very quirky and unexpected story, and I guess finding that balance between actually tackling a tough topic in a way, and wanting to convey some authenticity and some truth, but also entertaining and being provocative, that kind of like almost like a Trojan's horse, like you lure people in with your entertaining story, and then you present them with something maybe they haven't thought about, or you confront them in some way.
It's what always gained my interest. Iraqis until now, they have a really huge sense of humor. During a big conflict, like you find a really huge trouble, people fighting, or a military crisis, ISIS invading, half of the country, and you will find in Iraq, the Iraqis have a sense of the humor, in a way. It's, I think there are moments, and I still keep thinking about it. Back on time, during the hard times, when a car explosion happened, some people get killed, and within half an hour, the same place basically get cleaned up and cleaned up again. And I think, or actually, I believe that human beings have a survival mode. When you have the survival mode, even during the hard times, you will go through it and have it, in a very comedy way. I mean, personally, from a very rebellious family, so I grew up in this way, and I think we have it in the blood. I've got family resisted Saddam, I've got family got executed by Saddam and Ba'ath regime, and it's in the blood in a way. And what's I believe is somebody has to speak, and that's an Arab issue in a way. I mean, we have so many social issues that nobody wants to really talk about it. Avoiding the conflict, avoiding getting losing a certain position or whatever. I think what's the biggest mistake that we've done in Iraq is we don't talk about our issues publicly. We don't take it and have a discussion, in spite whether we agree or not agree with it, but it needs to be talked about. It needs to be discussed. And that's why you see through Hanging Gardens, I don't have any women in the film. I have the doll. only women that you can see through film. It's a very male-dominated film in a way, but in reality, the film talks about women and what happened behind doors and the Iraqi women in general. It's also um, the doll in the film. It comes from the American embassy in Baghdad, which is the biggest embassy on the planet. The size of the American embassy in Baghdad has like the Vatican size. It's so huge. There are so much metaphoric element in the film that I think audience. I hope they will be getting it very quickly. It refers to so many different layers of post 2003, post war society, and the conflict between old and new generation.
Was there a particular moment on set that you found most challenging, or on the other side of that, a highlight for you?
I'll tell you, and this is you the first one I'm going to tell him this story. Basically, the story of how we managed to bring the doll to Baghdad, to Iraq. This was crazy journey. Basically, we ordered the three sex dolls from China and from our associated producer in Canada, and my plan was basically to smuggle the dolls. You know, it's prohibited by law in Iraq to have this kind of sexual tools, etc., etc. The plan was basically to smuggle the dolls to Iraq through a diplomatic ship coming from the Iraqi embassy in London. But I had a really bad luck, and the ambassador he left to Baghdad during a protest or whatever. So I lost the connection, and we had to send him through a legal channel, through basically shipping the dolls to Baghdad, taking that risk. And here we go. Those were basically stuck in Baghdad, at Baghdad airport for 3 months. It was impossible. It took us involving the Prime Minister office, the Secret Agency, the Ministry of Culture, very high profile, influential tribal and social figures, and we got it. And then we got it after all that conflict, and I kept delaying the shooting. It's when we received, I remember when we received basically in the pickup truck three sex dolls in in their box, and they, we celebrated in a very, how do you say it, crown ceremonial way. We welcome my characters. But what's crazy enough, we start checking the dolls, and we've been checking it everything okay, and we found out one of the dolls was used at the Baghdad airport during that period of time. And yeah, it was dirty basically. And was the shock. And this is what confirmed why we do it Hanging Gardens as a film.
Yeah. And so ultimately, what do you hope people will take away from watching the film?
Wow, that's a big question. That's a really big question. I hope that people understand, and practically our audience in a way, what happened to society. The society gets imbalance where you isolate women from your life. Also, what's the new generation attitude, and how we can approach them in our current situation. I think this is the two things that I'm trying to push really hard, and I hope I have created a world that audience will enjoy and remember forever.
And what does it mean to you to have your film, your debut feature, playing here in Venice? And can you maybe quickly tell us what you might have as your next project?
Wow. I mean, it's a dream, obviously. It was a battle, 6 years of working on Hanging Gardens, almost 7 years, running around, trying to make it happen. And I'm glad the film was made completely by Iraqi hands. All the crew is Iraqi. Were no outsiders, technicians or people involved in the background behind the camera, which is something I'm very proud of. I'm been in Venice. By the way, the Iraqi flag is the first time in the festival period time it's been raising up for the film, which is really amazing. It feels good that it's already basically getting more attention, and young Iraqi filmmakers on ground getting really inspired and willing to push more so they can reach this stage. Well, about what's next, There is two projects that I'm working on, but the most important one is a story will be made under one question: how to prove you are a man, not a male. How to prove you are a man in the Iraqi society.
Do you feel hope for the future, whether that's for Iraqi society, the next generation? How do you see the health of the cinema industry? How might that be helping the situation?
I'm very optimistic, by the way, and in general, I approach life from a researcher perspective. And trust me, during the hard times that happened to me personally, I was kidnapped twice in Baghdad, by the way. I was arrested for 10 days in the American military prison. I have a bullet in my leg. And I live and keep going back and forth between London and Baghdad. And life, it's a miracle. Um, and history, it takes a course. You cannot stop it or trying to understand it. No, you can just flow with it, experience things. And this is how, in a way, it's a movie, you know? We get born, we don't know how to speak, how to talk, we start walking, and that's the first act of our life. So life is an experience, hard or easy. It's an experience you have to go through. So in terms of the Iraqi perspective, I'm very optimistic. I mean, look at the Iraqi history. It's been ups and downs since Iraq was discovered. It goes down, but I believe Iraqis, they got used to it and they know how to get up on their feet again.
Amazing. Well, that's a great note to end on. Thank you so much for sharing all that with us.
Thank you.
Really enjoy the rest of your time here in Venice.
Thanks a lot indeed. Thank you for your
Thank
time.
you.